Hey everyone, hope you're having a great holiday. And man, do I have a treat for you guys. This is a Christmas miracle having Nikaray versus Strength Power DX. And this game was actually a while back, but never really got around to posting it. But hey, no better time than the Christmas season to drop this for you guys. This is my Christmas present for you all. And it's actually a great game. Nikaray up to this point has not played for uh, close to a year. Like I'm thinking 8 months or so. And so we'll see how this ends up. He's going to run Pixies, the book that he loves to run, and bring them out turn 1. That's a great move in most cases. Perhaps he knows that DX doesn't have Flash, because then he would just be able to be flashed off. Although, no, he's putting the Pixies there in such a way that he won't get flashed or that it's really risky. So he's going to block the flash with the summon, kind of strategically place them, and DX is going to bring out the snare. He has a full seasons mix that's not full seasons. Now that we know that he has snare, he probably doesn't have the full book, because that would be too much of a handicap to bring snare. You only have 2 other spells if you were to bring the full book. So Nikaray also assumes, or maybe knows, that DX doesn't have flight with his book. He doesn't like to run flight with seasons. If he did have flight, that would be a sync, most likely, if DX knows the flash, if he's seen my flash guide flashing him off to the right side. So he's going to go back to where his snares were, just, to discourage Nikaray from approaching him. Because if you get hit with the snare, you're going to get stunned. DX is going to bring out the Monarchs, followed by a tree, and then just bring a swarm out. Again, 60G is just about, oh, we're just bringing out all of our minions, developing. DX is also killing the tree, also getting a swarm out as well, so killing 2 birds with 1 stone there. DX is trying to, or Nikaray is trying to position the Pixie so that he can get the swarm stack. And he could aura here, but also it's more tempo to get the swarm out. You think about it from a perspective of turn efficiency, right? And he is going to swarm instead because he gets a minion and he gets the undead Pixie. Or not the undead Pixie, but and he kills DX's swarm. So unfortunately for Nikaray, the snare actually hit the swarm that he summoned, so it killed it. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's why it just died the turn after. I don't have sound on, so you wouldn't really be able to tell. And here, DX pulls out Morning Sun. This is going to prove to be an annoying spell as time goes on because it's heavily stall oriented. And that's the purpose, basically. So now the rays of sun will kind of rejuvenate here. They'll become alive, and now DX can go in and out of that, and Nikaray can't, right? So for example, the Pegasus would be stunned, he would be stunned if he tries to go through, but you can bring a minion through and then bring yourself through after, if you can get it through all the rays. So now Nikaray, I assume, has the book that he always runs, which is a more aerial centric book with Rain of Arrows, Rain of Fire, Skyray, along with Pebbles. So he's going to just chip away at DX's minions. DX is still trapped. He doesn't really care that much that he's trapped, just because it's still early game. But he does have to watch out for Dark Knight, if Nikaray has it. I don't think he does have Dark Knight in this book. He's focusing on winning with the aerials and pixies, that combination. So perhaps DX knows this and knows, okay, it's fine. I don't really need to sweat being trapped up here. Nikaray's going to want to go on the side anyway and just spam his aerials, which is what he could start doing actually here now. Bring that Pegasus to the side to prevent DX from approaching, and start to chip away at the Dryad, chip away at the Snowman, and yeah, that'd be a good option. If I'm DX here, I want to tower out at some point. Yeah, okay, so it misses the Monarch, but it does get the Dryad. maybe aiming that a little bit over to the left would have been slightly better, but you know, a moot point, not really impactful play. Just does some chip damage, which again, it's 60G, so chip damage is going to be important. Especially when it comes to these aerial books with Aura and Swarm, Pixie Drain, like you're all doing like 30 damage, 15 damage, 20 damage here. It's not like you're going to whip out your Dark Matter Bomb, Meteor, Fisher, you know, triple combo. So here DX is moving around his minions. He's seeing if he can get over to Nikaray, maybe to, I don't know, flutter a minion or something like that. Don't know exactly what his idea was. Maybe he was just testing to see if he could get the Monarch through. He can't, and he's going to give his own aerial pressure with the Four Seasons, and now the Pixies are going to slowly get whittled down. Four Seasons is going to be a great way to deal with Pixies because he now has to hide them if he wants them to stay alive. And also you can trigger Four Seasons at the beginning of every turn now that he's used the spell. So for the next 4 turns he can do autumn, spring, summer, and winter weather to do, again, chip damage. 10 here, 15 there, 20 there. And so they're both kind of engaged in this battle of, you know, micro gameplay pretty much. Neither of them can, you know, garner a huge advantage in 1 turn or 2 turns. DX makes a nice play there to drop the tree. Why it dropped the tree? Well, that's just a mechanic in the game. If you have a floating tree and you jump on it, then it'll drop down. So he's going to chip away at the Pegasus here. And Nikaray has a few options. He can swarm the Pixies. He chooses to do some damage first. I don't think that's a bad move. I think either way he could swarm or he could do the aerial. One benefit to doing the aerial is that he gets the aerial on cooldown, right? So now Rain of Arrows is on cooldown. It'll come up in the next few turns and he can use it again, right? So I think that's a good choice to get these aerials rolling. He's got 3 of them, so he can just spam it basically if he is able to keep distance from DX, right? So that's going to be his goal. A tricky thing about leaves here is it's actually super annoying because you can't touch them, otherwise you get stunned. And if you were to just drop into a pile of leaves, it actually does quite a bit of damage. So you want to be careful of that. But he can go through the leaves himself, DX can. So Nikaray's going to pull out a swarm and make the undead pixies. You might think, oh well, he can't really get them out. But that's a problem for another turn. You know, he's going to say, okay, they're going to gain some health. I'm going to eventually get them out. So it's not a big deal. As long as I have them, I can worry about getting them out in the future. And he doesn't even have to get them out immediately. As you can see, he's going to continue to get his aerials on cooldown. He's got a good sense for the priorities in the position. He knows that he's not in any major danger. And he also knows that if he flashes out, he doesn't actually free the pixies because he's got the leaves there. So really, he's just made the pixies and he said, well, hopefully 5 turns down the line I can get these out, or 2 turns down the line, or 4 turns, however long, right? So here DX is going to make a nice play. He's going to border hop, which is another mechanic in the game that you guys might not know if you're not familiar with much 60G or just, you know, not a veteran of the game. You border hop and you can clear all of that land. What's the benefit to that? Well, he's now got access for his Dryad and maybe other minions that can come over to the left side of the map. So here he BFTPs, probably to avoid a snare if it were to come down to the right a little bit. But also this BFTP works out well for him. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So DX is going to bring his Dryad over, obviously, with the melt, which doesn't end turn now, by the way. If you hadn't seen my video on the 6.0 patch notes, then you'll know, then you wouldn't know about that. But if you had seen the video, I mentioned that. The Snowman melt doesn't end the turn. And he's able to melt 2 snowmen and then try to bring the Dryad over to Nikaray. Doesn't quite work though. He barely positions himself such that the Dryad won't hit him. I highly doubt that he thought of this in the moment, that like, oh, it's kind of RNG whether the snowman melt is going to allow the dryad to get through. Also, I don't know why it didn't de-prot him there. Whenever I'm in like halfway inside a dryad, what happens is when you try to move out, the de-prot will trigger. So got a bit lucky there perhaps, but one blunder that we'll see DX make here is he keeps his dryad down there, and now it's just going to get whittled away with aerials. And Nikaray can continue to avoid the snares, probably with another flash, if he wants. But we'll see what he chooses to do. And look at that move. Does any of you, I'm going to pause, do any of you know what he did? How did that even make sense? So we had a pixie over here on the right side. Pretty genius play. And you get an indicator along with the pixie to show you. Oh, I moved the camera back to DX, but we'll follow the monarch. You get an indicator because the pixie has a spell called Spirit Gate or Spirit Walk or whatever. Not Spirit Walk. It's the fairy ring. Okay, there we go. So it's basically another gate, and he had a pixie over here on the right. The undead pixie doesn't have it, but a live pixie does. And he used that fairy ring. He basically clicked, it's a little indicator that like we would have the little red circle, and he clicked on himself after he clicked fairy ring on the pixie. So he just went over to his pixie, clicked fairy ring, put all of his minions together in a bunch, clicked all of them, and then they kind of AoE. There's a little bit of an AoE to that indicator. It just, transported all of his minions, not just one unit. So pretty neat. He was able to teleport all of his minions to the other side of the map, and now he can make progress from the other side. Really unique, pretty genius play that I'm sure no one else would really have thought of. It didn't come to me when I was watching this game, nor have I ever used that mechanic in a game ever. So really interesting. You see again the mechanic of a live tree that is not touching anything. You damage it and then it falls. And now he's got a second swarm out. The pixie is going to gain more health, and he's going to hope to outpace DX's chip damage with healing from the swarm. Now he has both of his pixies free, and DX has 2 trap minions over there that I'm moving over to with the camera. And so you can kind of see, if I zoom all the way out, the state of this game. You've got DX on the left, and Nikaray is going to continue to spam aerials on the left here to kill DX's minions. And you've got Nikaray on the right, just swarm ticking his Pegasus, not his Pegasus, his pixies, and trying to build an advantage by just getting them to 50 health, continuing to heal them up, and then eventually going to start to approach DX. So maybe this is the time for Nikaray to gain top control back. If he wants to bring the swarm up and take his pixie that just went through. So he is going to go up top. Is he going to stay? And there he goes. He gets stunned by the leaf. He just forgot. It's a new mechanic that happens. So he's going to bring his swarm over, and we'll see what he chooses to do here. Okay, he's going to just do a fancy little stack so he can hit his pixie and the monarch, a double hit, which is another kind of more advanced aura stacking. You just put the 2 minions really close to each other, position the swarm pretty much just like at the center of both the 2 minions, and then the aura will hit both of them, and 15 heal to the pixie and 15 damage to the monarch in that situation. So here you're going to see the aura stack, the double stack. So he positioned the swarm roughly at the in between the 2 pixies, and you'll see him position it here again. Get a close look at this. Yeah, so, and then he just hits them both with the aura. It actually does 30 heal to the bottom pixie and 15 to the top because of the aura stacking mechanics. I've said aura, ura, not ura, but yeah, if you want to call it ura, like pros, you can. Or aru, no, he said aru in voice once, and that was hilarious. I think I mentioned that in one of my other videos too. The aru of decay. I don't know how to fucking pronounce that, he says. It's pretty funny. We were all laughing at him in voice for that. That was ages ago at this point, but still funny. So, like I said, he's going to chip away at DX's minions with the aerials, and now he's gained top control back. Yes, DX still has pressure with 4 seasons, but Nikaray's got 2 pixies, 2 swarms, himself. You know, DX, what is he going to kill, right? It's hard to know. I would personally go for the swarm, prioritize that, but you can't even guarantee that the season, the triggered season, will kill a swarm, will do 25 damage, so you are in a difficult situation here, having to deal with so many minions that he has out. And the innovative move to teleport all of his minions from the left to the right really allowed him to distance himself from DX more, which is where Nikaray's book really does well, is when you're far away from the opponent, right? So he brings out the leaves. Again, that's super annoying because if you touch any leaf, you're stunned. So he can't really go through there, but he's able to navigate his pixie somehow through and avoid the leaves. That's a nice play. Really great movement there. I guess not the absolute trickiest, but still, a lot of players wouldn't have been able to do that. He's going to continue to heal his pixies, and just, now that he's got this massive minion advantage, slowly start to go over to DX, whittle away his minions, and go from there. He chooses to drain DX instead of the hive. Not sure why, but maybe he says, I can kill the hive anytime. Perhaps if DX has spear, he's going to kill the pixie. He does have spear, so he's able to kill that pixie in one hit. And I don't know, perhaps it would have been good to drain the hive, but maybe Nikaray is saying, yeah, it's not really a huge threat. I have a second pixie that I can bring over to kill that at any point. But DX is going to try to limit his movement. And okay, he says, okay, I'm going to kill that with Ray. It's not a huge deal. I feel like that's fine. The Dryad's at 88, so he's able to chip it down about 75 health. And again, DX just wants to keep up his 4 seasons so he can pressure the pixies, pressure the swarms, pressure Nikaray when he's flighted. He does some nice movement here to tick the pixie without hitting the morning sun. Excuse me. So he does tick his swarm there by accident. Happens. It's some tricky movement. But Nikaray is able to get 75 damage on the Dryad. Now it's almost dead. So DX is going to lose a win con real soon here. And I think that goes back to his positioning of his Dryad a while back, where he trapped it down on the left side. So pretty much Nikaray's happy to be up here top because he's got a swarm out, he's got a pixie out, he's got some pretty good minion advantage. And basically once DX gets the opportunity to, oh, nice movement here by the way, by Nikaray. Once DX gets an opportunity to kill his swarm, like it's back up off cooldown, so he can just bring out another one. So it's hard for DX to keep up with these minions that he's bringing out. So he's going to potentially kill the Dryad at some point. Maybe not this turn, but this turn it would be fine to do as well. Yep, he decides to just kill it. This turn is probably the best because actually the Dryad can come up to the top. So yeah, definitely the best move to kill the Dryad there. DX goes for some leaves. Nikaray absorbs those. I think maybe to make his movement a bit easier, but perhaps that was a blunder as well. I don't see that it's hugely necessary to absorb those, but maybe he's worried about later in the game flying and then accidentally hitting the leave and then you're down flight, and that just sucks. So he brings out another swarm, and he is going to maybe try and tick The Pixie, yep, he brings it down below, which some of you guys may not have seen. The Pixie goes through a pretty small area there. And he's just going to build his prot and chill, kind of let the morning sun stall out. It's really annoying. So he's not going to worry about like gating through it or anything like that. He's going to get his prot up because he knows that. Ooh, nice movement from Nikaray there again. A lot of moments of nice movement from Nikaray here. Avoiding the leaves with the swarm, avoiding the leaves with the flighted blight. And you'll notice too, he knows that he could prot up and then go through the morning sun, and his prot, you'll notice, is at 40. So he was able to, oh, by the way, I'll zoom in again here a little bit. His prot was at 40, right? And so he took 10 damage from the ray, but he didn't get stunned. That's because he used the prot after the morning sun was cast. So you use morning sun and then you cast prot after, you can go through it. Same thing with Aura of Decay. You use Aura, then you cast prot after, you can go through it. If you cast prot before and then Aura, you'll get stunned. So more food for thought for you guys. Some sneaky 60G tips. Kind of interesting that he actually gets benefit from the swarm when it's trapped, because the Pixie can heal. It can just go into the aura, right? So again, he hits the aura without hitting the morning sun, which is awesome movement. So props to Nikaray there. And what's his plan here? He's got to detower DX somehow. Oh, excuse me. And he's going to choose to flash the snowman first. And at some point soon, I would say he wants to detower DX. Here, I'm not sure if he worries about the acorn. He can always drain it next turn. And DX has to wait a turn before he can summon bees. That's how acorn works now. So we'll see what he chooses to do. I don't think Rain of Arrows is a bad move here. I don't remember what he does, though. Okay, so it looks like he's going to go for like a double drain or something, which is also a good move because the Pegasus is high enough health. And then perhaps like the Rain of Arrows could maybe knock him, or, you know, who knows what could happen there. So again, chip damage, going to deflight Nikaray. Now he could kill the acorn if he wants. He's going to jump back over to the right. He's going to jump high jump so that the Pixie can go through. The reason he does that is so that he can absorb the swarm. He just chooses to actually just kill the swarm. So maybe he didn't need to jump on the top there. He could have just long jumped over. But perhaps he would fall into the morning sun and then take more damage. So maybe just high jumping over, taking a little bit of the chip damage is better. Just kind of going through his thought process, trying to get in the mind of a great 60G player. So again, he's got 2 swarms out now and a Pixie that's pretty healthy. He stuns himself with the leaves again, super annoying. That's life. He could still maybe aim the drain to kill the hive. Yep, he just aims it right there through the tree. And now Nikaray's got good minion advantage. DX doesn't have any minions out. His Dryad's dead. So Nikaray's got a pretty nice advantage. The leaves will disappear after 5 turns, so he doesn't need to worry about them being there for the entirety of the game, which is why he flashes out. He knows that they'll go away eventually. And now DX has killed Nikaray's Pixie, but he's down 2 swarms. This is rough, because Nikaray's shown time and time again that with just 1 swarm advantage, he can win against any opponent. So we'll see how he executes the endgame here. How is he going to do damage? He doesn't really have that much damage. He's going to worry about damage later. Just bring out a Pegasus, maybe get it undead in due time. Maybe DX makes a positional blunder. Maybe he can spam aerials. He could go for a Rain of Arrows here. Simply detower him to threaten the double swarm. Although there's the morning sun there, right? So he has to be cognizant of that. He can't just bring the swarm through. He does go for the Rain of Arrows. And now DX is just, yeah, bringing out his minions. What else can he do with the Seasons book? It's minion heavy. But actually he allows Nikaray to get a triple drain there. or double drain rather. So perhaps not the best positioning on DX's part. Maybe he could have gone closer to where he is now in that hole to summon his snowman. But also if he goes in that hole, then he's prone to trapping. So it's kind of the, lesser of two evils as far as positioning goes. But he does allow the double drain. Nikaray's back to 205. He's pretty healthy. He was 137. I don't know why it didn't pan to the Morning Sun when it was cast, but DX places a Morning Sun on the side here to prevent Nikaray's minions from coming to the middle. But Nikaray does the Ice Shield and blocks the Morning Sun, allowing the swarms to come through. What a play. I didn't see this either in the game when I was spectating. Really great play. And he does it without ending his turn. Again, huge turn efficiency. Flashes the snowman. Again has two swarms out. DX is trapped. Some pretty masterful gameplay here. He goes for a double drain. Just says, I can get some health. I can't deal with the swarms at this moment. I don't know if 4 Seasons was on cooldown. He could have also gone for a 4 Seasons, killed the 15 health swarm. But instead, he chooses to go for a double drain. Really interesting late game here in how we're seeing DX and Nikaray fight it out and try to convert their endgame strategies. But as you can see, Nikaray's got a lot of swarms out. Potentially one reason that he wanted to bring out a Pegasus is because he knows that in most scenarios, he is going to be able to get that Pegasus undead because he's got 2 swarms and he's got the aura that he can use. As we can see, he does get that Pegasus undead, and that forces DX to go on the defensive. Unfortunately for him, he can still get ticked by the swarms, but he just has to hide. Nikaray can't get to him to sink him. That could be an option if he has a BFTP left. Then he could have just foregone the swarms, flighted, BFTP'd, and sunk DX. I think that's sinkable. Yeah, that's sinkable with an extend flash. But instead, he chooses to take the slower approach, and he's going to go down here, and let's see what he chooses to do. Okay, he's just going to flash down. Now you might think, okay, Nikaray can get sunk here, but I don't think DX has flash, and maybe he ran out of time. It looks like kind of a weird play. Probably not the most ideal play, but I feel like Nikaray knew that he wouldn't be able to get punished that hard for this flash because he knows DX doesn't have flash. So, a fine move, but really interesting how he can make what appears to be a misplay, but it's also fine. And he's just going to flash down. He knows that DX doesn't have flash. He can't sink him back. So he's exploiting the book's weaknesses, which is something that a lot of players struggle to do, including myself. That's one of my things that I'm trying to work on. To exploit a player's weaknesses, discover their weaknesses of their book, and then exploit them in real time. So perhaps Nikaray was pretty familiar with DX's book, and then he is able to flash him. DX can't really do anything about that. And the swarm kills the acorn. And now it's just a matter of taking him with the swarms, maybe keeping him trapped in there with the tree. Okay, he just decides to do the chip damage with another swarm. And DX kills it. But Nikaray was able to get 15 damage off, right? So we'll see, he's just going to take him again and maybe go for a tree. You don't want to let DX escape in this situation, but also you might. It depends. Here he's not flighted, but I still think you want to keep him trapped down there as long as you can do a little bit of chip damage. And now, when Nikaray flashes out of this tree, he can do some damage and also keep DX trapped. So he's just going to position himself to block DX from coming up, but he flashes him here and then he opens that area. Maybe he could have flashed to the left and not open that area. Perhaps he didn't want to allow a double drain. Actually, no, the double drain is still there, but DX felt like tower was best. So Nikaray goes for a Sky Ray. He actually hits himself a bit there too. DX wants to get a double drain off, so he goes for the Monarchs. And I think Nikaray will probably go for a Rain of Fire to kill these after he ticks one of them. Actually, he's able to position the Swarm in the middle of the Monarchs, hit Enter or Control or Backspace to bring the Swarm down, and then take both of them. So nice movement there. And yes, he does do the Rain of Fire, kills both Monarchs. DX doesn't have any Drain Food. He brings out a Man Trap. Again, the name of the game in this book is just to bring out minions after minions after minions. And you'll see DX do that. Let's see. Yeah, he's just going to go for a Rain of Fire, or Rain of Arrows, I mean. And DX's only option here is pretty much to drain. So what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, here is the culmination of countless hours and grinding from Nikaray to get to this point where he's able to defeat the great DX. No, I'm just kidding. Nikaray just was AFK for 9 months, comes back, and takes DX down. So pretty wild. But he does it. He just sticks to his guns, which is the Pixie book, the aerial Pixie book. And DX brings Seasons, which he thinks would be able to beat Pixies. Which he's not wrong. It's good chip damage to deal with the Pixies, but with that Spirit, that Fairy Ring gate play that Nikaray did, and the Ice Shield to block the Swarm, to block the Morning Sun, to allow the Swarm to go in through, is just, you know, great micro plays to emerge victorious if Nikaray doesn't make any screw-ups here in the last few turns. So we'll see what happens. It's unfortunate that Nikaray, doesn't have a tower, so he has to rely on arrows. So he chooses to retreat here because, what can he do? He could just drain, but that it's not too threatening. He's going to go for the very ultra slow Swarm. You think, oh, well, he can't really tick DX with the Swarm when he's in the Sanctuary, right? But he says, I've still got time. Turn 51. That'll force DX to use a turn to respond, because when the Sanctuary is down, I can tick him with the Swarm, right? So he's just doing a very slow, methodical kind of style. Slow, methodical move, and honestly, gameplay too. Here he goes for the Rain of Arrows. Now that he knows, even if one fireball hits, it can still detower DX. He can't really move anywhere. That jump is not possible. So all he has to do is just drain. And this is where that Swarm comes in that he summoned a while ago, which actually got killed by Morning Sun, but now he has a second one, right? So he can tick him with that, and then maybe go for a Drain Sync or a Flash Sync. I didn't see a Drain Sync though here in the moment. I was thinking, oh, he's going to go over and flash him. But actually, this will work out. You'll see the angle that he uses. Boom, pops him right up. Doesn't quite hit the tree. So not sure if that was calculated or not, but pretty nice sync by Nikaray there, and he's got his Swarm, which he can maybe squeeze under the tree. We'll see. No, not quite. Just stuck on a pixel. So now he's got that Undead Pegasus that he can use to trap DX. DX doesn't have many options here. He could go for a Drain, or he could just trap him with it and use Aura, which is another good play. At any point, Nikaray can elevator himself up with the Swarm and jump through the Morning Sun if he wants. Well, he can't because the Swarm's active, but he's going to choose to just flash it out, which is, I think, the best play. He can't really elevator that easily. So DX is just going to get ticked 15 a turn by that Undead Pegasus, get ticked by this Swarm here, and I think Nikaray is going to choose to Aura, and then just, yeah, it's a game of 15 damage, 15 damage, 15 damage, 15 damage to the victory. So let's see. I think he's going to go for the Aura of Decay Yep, again, use himself to use the swarm to elevator. Yeah, really nice play. Don't really need to drain because that'll free DX and allow him to escape. But here also, I remember, because I recorded this before, but I'm re-recording, you want to prevent DX from towering. And the best way to do that is to put that swarm next to him. Sanctuary doesn't fit now. So really awesome play to clinch the game. He does only have life dew as one move to heal 40 and then lose 30 from the auras. And he's just going to die from all this chip damage. And I'm going to just let this play out because it's really instructive. Like I said, he puts the swarm up above DX to stop the tower. And at some point he decides to drain, or does he? We'll see what he chooses to do. He's got another chip damage spell, Aura, that he can use. He doesn't have to drain. I think he's waiting to drain when it's going to kill him, right? So he's going to take 45 damage, fall into his dew. He actually doesn't fall into his dew before taking that damage, so he just dies because he had 37 health. Really great game by Nikaray, some genius plays and really insightful, informative, moments. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and like I said, Christmas miracle to have Nikaray beat DX after being AFK for like a year, but also pretty hilarious. Hope you guys enjoyed, and have a great holiday. See you guys in the next video. If you enjoyed this, by the way, drop a like, subscribe, comment. Alright, anyway, peace out.